Well, hello out there. It is your favorite fundraiser, your BFF. That is your favorite Black female fundraiser, Kia Kroon, your founder and host of your favorite podcast. Yes, I'm going to say that. Your favorite podcast, the Black Fundraisers Podcast, which inspires and equips Black fundraisers to positively impact Black communities. Y'all, hip hop is 50 years old. And I'm popping on your timeline just to talk a little bit about that because I haven't really seen a whole lot of love for hip hop on my social media threads. Well, with the exception of Instagram, but I wanted to show a little love to hip hop on my LinkedIn and my Facebook platforms. Why? Because hip hop changed my life, right? So my love affair started with hip hop at the tender age of 10. And it's almost like the rapper Common talked about in that song that came out many years ago in the 90s called I Used to Love Her. So I fell in love with hip hop as a 10-year-old girl in East Oakland, California. I remember getting cassette tapes from my older cousins, listening to their cassette tapes, listening to music that, by most people's estimation, I had no business listening to. And one of my first cassette tapes was the Boys in the Hood soundtrack. And I remember listening to the Boys in the Hood soundtrack, listening to rap artists like Ice Cube, Yo Yo, How to Survive in South Central, a place where busting a cap is fundamental. Like I remember listening to all of those 90s Los Angeles rap artists. And while a lot of people, or let me just say this, the media had a lot to say about rap music at the time. It wasn't really called hip hop as much back then. It was just called rap music or gangster rap. And rappers like Ice Cube, Ice T, NWA, were vilified for simply talking about their lived experiences with poverty, with police brutality, with drug culture, with gang culture in some cases. I don't recall Ice Cube rapping about gang culture, but various artists that were talking about gang culture received a lot of backlash, a lot of criticism, and even censure from media, right? And looking back, I think it was really, really interesting because hip hop was born in poverty. On August 11th, 1973, in the Bronx, one of the most single, disinvested communities in the country. During the 70s, the Bronx and a lot of other under-resourced communities looked like almost third world countries due to structural disinvestment and conditions that contributed to the economic injustice of Black and Brown people. You had people like myself living in extreme poverty and dire straits. And you had this emergence of this artistry, rap music, hip hop. As the story is told, DJ Kool Herc was playing music, in the Bronx, and people would come from all across the community, to celebrate and listen to the music and dance, break dance, and fellowship. So hip hop was born in poverty. And by my estimation, it told the story, the side of the story that wasn't being told. while the media was talking about crime, was talking about drugs, violence, no one was talking about the struggles for little Black girls and Black boys and Black men and women who were living in these historically under resourced communities. So, what the media wasn't saying, you had rappers like Cube and otherwise saying on the East Coast. You had rappers I'm sorry, on the West Coast. You had rappers on the East Coast. I remember the Beat Nuts and goodness, Mob Deep, Nas, EPMD, Rakim, Jay-Z, talking about their lived experiences with poverty, right? Talking about economic injustice. I remember artists like Public Enemy, rappers like Chuck D, talking about politics and Black pride and speaking out against police brutality and injustice. I remember rappers like Queen Latifah and MC Lyte talking about Black pride and misogyny and stuff that I saw growing up in the hood of East Oakland that nobody was talking about in mainstream media, right? So this love affair that I've had with hip hop for the last 30 years is one that I'm proud to talk about because it was hip hop that taught me that the things that I was seeing and experiencing as a little Black girl, navigating poverty, navigating having an absentee father, having a mother that had substance abuse issues, hip hop put in perspective that it wasn't just me. It wasn't just my community, that poverty was a social issue that was impacting people of color, people that look like me across the nation, right? And the thoughts and the feelings that I was having weren't in a vacuum, weren't isolated, right? There were people that shared those views and perspectives with me. So as I listened to that cassette tape, and I navigated growing up in the ghetto and struggling from day to day. Days when I didn't necessarily know, what was going to pop off in my neighborhood as I was walking down the street from school. I would listen to these records and they were like a soundtrack to what I was living and seeing. So I owe so much to hip hop. I love the art form, hip hop, I love you. And to celebrate hip hop and its 50 years, I actually traveled to Hip Hop 50 at the Yankee Stadium. It was this massive concert with artists that I grew up listening to and know and love, from Melly Mel and Grandmaster and the Furious Five to EPMD to Slick Rick to Dougie Fresh to Rakim, to goodness, there's just so many to name. I mean, the star-studded concert, it was so epic to be there at the Yankee Stadium, just in the heart of where hip hop began, with people from all over the country. Your girl had a front seat to all the action, and it was incredible. So I've shared the link with you so that you can run the playback and see all the wonderful performances. The ones that stuck out to me the most, that really pulled my heartstrings and just had me so in the moment, was Common. Seeing that brother perform, I Used to Love Her, almost brought tears to my eyes, because he was talking about a longtime friend of mine that was there when nobody else was there, that understood what seemed incomprehensible, what life was growing up like in poverty in the hood, what it was like in the dark, in those dark moments sometimes where I didn't know where the next dollar was going to come from, right? Um, just those dark days, you know, hip hop taught me so much and raised visibility about what I was seeing and experiencing. And I'm eternally grateful. I love the art form. I love the fact that hip hop went from something that was shunned essentially by the mainstream media to something that is widely embraced and has become $1 billion industry. We got hip hop beats and rappers on Sprite commercials and cat food commercials. You got the Migos playing in the background. And it just warms my heart. But my highlights, real quick, you can check it out. I shared the link. Highlights from Hip Hop 50 was definitely seeing Common perform I Used to Love Her. Goodness gracious, seeing Snoop Dogg and Slick Rick perform Lottie Dottie. I mean, I would have imagined seeing Snoop and Slick Rick perform Lottie Dottie together. It was crazy. Seeing Fat Joe perform New York in the Bronx, in company of people that are from the Bronx, in company of people that are from New York, singing, I got 100 guns, 100 clips. I'm from New York, New York. Just the pride. It's just some things you have to experience in New York, right? I'm a West Coaster at my core, West Coaster to the heart, but there's some things you got to experience in New York where it all started. And Hip Hop 50 is one of those things. Other quick highlights. Lil Tunechi, Lil Wayne, Young Moolah, whatever you want to call him, Young Moolah, baby, seeing him perform, seeing him bring out Corey Gunz, Peter Gunz' son, and perform 6 foot, 7 foot, you know, seeing him go into his crates, it was epic. Ooh, seeing Fat Joe and Peter Gunz perform Deja Vu, Uptown Baby, Uptown Baby. Because if it wasn't for this Bronx, this rap shit probably never would be going on. So tell me where you from. So dope. So dope. Seeing Havoc perform. You know, I remember Mobb Deep, rest in peace, Prodigy. The highlight of all highlights for me was seeing Nas perform with Kool G Rap, one of the OGs, one of the OG goats of the hip hop era. And not only that, when he brought out the Queen, Lauryn Hill, I almost want to cry. Seeing hip hop royalty like on 1,000 like that left me speechless. Just being in that moment, y'all, you had to be there. So look, just take it from me. It was so dope. It was an experience of a lifetime. Check out the link that I shared. The whole video is on YouTube. Oh, how could I forget seeing Run DMC perform? Epic. The closing act. Epic. Epic. My Adidas. I mean, down with the king. It's like that, and that's the way it is. Huh. I'm silly, but I just wanted to get on here and share my love letter, my affection for hip hop in its 50 years. I'm going to keep repping this art form, honoring and celebrating it, riding till the wheels fall off. I love you, hip hop, and thank you for taking the time to tune in. I hope you enjoy the video.